Hi, Nick. It's Professor Jen. I want to give you some feedback on both your writer's letter and on the story. First, let me start by saying the grade that I put in here, the 1%, we're going to revise in class when we go through a grading exercise on these. I've attached the rubric to your piece here. I want you to take a look at it if you have a chance before class, because we're going to dive into it and have everybody take a look at their own piece. It'll be really fun, and you'll grade it, and we'll talk about it, and that'll be the grade that you get. Okay. Um, so I'm going to attach the rubric. The grade in here is just a placeholder in both your pieces. Okay. I agree with you in your writer's letter. I think that grammar is a thing that will, as you focus on it more and more, and I've got some suggestions for you in the piece that you submitted, um, it will make your writing so much clearer. I also agree with you that it's your prerogative to choose which edits you make and which ones you don't. And if you have a certain feeling that you're going for, you should strive for that. Um, I have that same approach to my writing. If you find someone that you trust, an editor whom you trust, then you might play with some of their feedback, even if it's counter to what you think is effective in your writing. Sometimes we're too close to it. But I totally respect the fact that you didn't make the edit that I suggested. That's great. Um, I want to do two things. I want to have you look at your writing, the grammatical, mechanical parts of it. I think they need a lot of help. I'm just going to say it. I think that that's a weakness that you can easily overcome. And I think that once you do that, then you have license to take that storyline that you were talking about, that crescendo, and implement it in your work. But grammatical correctness, that's how people judge work. That's the first thing that they judge. The second thing is, does the piece work? But I think that you're kind of holding yourself back by not using correct language, grammatically correct language. And also, there's tools out there to use. You can sign up for Grammarly. You can Google Docs has a new grammar checker in it, and I think you should use those because it would catch a lot of the things. Now, I didn't do a full line edit here, but let me tell you what I'm talking about. Um, um, 2 years of success and addictions to being the best. That gerund form of that verb be, to be, when you're in the present tense, that's what you need. You didn't uppercase this T, and it's the beginning of a sentence. And so, right there in your third sentence, I thought, and I'm going to be really honest with you. You know me, that's my job, right? I thought, this is going to be taxing to read this. So, grammar turns readers off. Bad grammar turns readers off. And I'm going to challenge you to have this be one of your missions for this term, that you master basic capitalization and grammar, meaning verb tenses, sentence structure, capitalization. We've talked about the four forms of capitalization: sentence casing, title casing, all caps, and all lowercase. And you need to be using sentence casing in all your sentences if you're writing in standard written English. If you're writing poetry, that's something different. That does not adhere to the standard written English rules. So I'm going to push you here because I don't want readers not to read your work. I think it's needs to be read. But if you have these little silly types of errors, people are going to turn off. They're just going to turn away from your writing. And that's a disservice to those people. When you have a title of a complete work, it should be in italics. And when you have a title of like a complete work, like a book, an album, a movie, when you have a title of an article, it should be in quotes. Right here, you're missing a period. So again, or at least a comma. But this, and you do this throughout the piece, you fuse two ideas, two either complete sentences together with no punctuation. You expect me to put the punctuation in there, and I don't. I can't. I'm not in your head. I have to read it multiple times. And again, it's just a really fatiguing thing to do as a reader. I like this. I think you're verging on this, and I agree. This is a great Great sentence right there. Ever big ego mixed with confidence. I think you mean mixed. If you'd gotten this verb tense right, I would have understood what you were trying to say. So verb tenses are critical. And you need to punctuate this. You have this like a flow of words like a river. Now that's good if it's poetry. But in prose, since you're mixing standard written English and non-standard written English, I don't know which way to go. So this isn't written, this isn't spoken word, it's written word. And so you need to punctuate it so that I can absorb it the way you want me to. My message was mental illness. You either mean connecting or the connection between mental illness and gun violence. Period. I wanted to tackle the toughest topics head on with this film. So I formulated a short, meaningful video. Got to shoot it. So this needs to end the sentence there. Little things like that, Nick. I know you're gonna think I'm being smarmy about this, kind of like you got to do this. Your writing will be much more absorbed. Your message will get across if you adhere to the grammar rules that everyone expects. Okay. Again, if you have a title of a complete work, italicize it. I liked this a lot, but I wanted to know when it was, because you'd use that device of the year is 2017, the year is 2018, right? And then I didn't know when it was. Were we in the past or in the present? What is it? So just maybe continuing that cool device that you've got going on. And I didn't know if Stephanie had gone after you in a romantic way or after you in a sequential way. I think that this phrase doesn't answer that question. It's a confusing phrase. There are some grammar things in here. I just didn't do a close line edit because I want the grammar tools to help you with that. I can turn you on to some good grammar tools. Let's talk about it, maybe in office hours. I put in the same amount of work into it. So your repetition with the word in here, I think, is just a proofreading mistake. I'm going to encourage you to proofread with a pen and try to catch things like that. It's not all about grammar. It's about a sensitivity to your reader. And readers don't have a lot of patience. They're not going to wade through things like that, proofreads like that, things that are missed in the proofread. Again, I think you need to use some punctuation that's going to cradle the reader and help them absorb your meaning. I see that as the responsibility of the writer. And without it, you're kind of throwing your reader to the wolves and just hoping they make it through your text. And I don't think you're gonna be successful with that. As I close the book, I felt a spark in me. Through failure comes success, and I'm willing to fail 100 times to get to my success. I'm within the limelight. That's 3 different sentences. They're fused together by commas. Commas can't connect complete sentences. They're not strong enough. Commas connect phrases, but not complete sentences. So either periods or semicolons. Typically only one semicolon in a sentence, though. So Nick, I think you've got good storytelling. I can tell like you write scripts. I actually think you're writing a script here, not a narrative. And those are 2 different things. Your writing it's like you're a screenwriter and you're writing those action slugs, and you've got to switch into this narrative. And now we're going to make another switch, which is into a rhetorical analysis voice, and it's not this voice at all. So now I'm going to ask you to switch voices again, and you've got to make that switch with me, because that's what we're doing 3 different voices. This was the first one. The second one is the red analysis. Then we're going to do a true academic conversation. So Nick, I think you've got some good stuff happening here. You're a very vibrant writer. It flows. I recognize it because I love screenwriting. It's like you're writing action, but you've got to hit the genre that we're in. Cool story, Nick.